Okay, hey everybody, this is Adrian at Drainage District 4. We're going to go and get started here in a minute. We're going to keep everybody muted because we're going to host this video to the website for reference afterwards. So if you have any questions, then type them into the chat and we'll address them as they come up. But we're going to let Daniela get started and we're going to run through the full MyGov and how we've switched over to it and everything y'all will need to do moving forward.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniela. So we're going to start off by starting at the BDD4/MyGov webpage. Normally, if you go to the MyGov website or the BDD4 website, the homepage, it will be this right here. As you see, we have a coming soon notification. You can either click the click here for more information button, or on the left-hand side, there is a MyGov button. Either way will take you to the same place and is going to bring us to just the MyGov information page on our website. As you can see, beginning September 4th, which is the day after the submittal deadline, all submittals, resubmittals, new projects will be going through MyGov. We have some help documents available here for you to watch. There's videos for creating collaborator accounts, submitting a project, variance requests. So please do utilize these resources to find out the general information of how to navigate MyGov. There also is a collaborator portal help document. So to get to the website that we want all users to access MyGov, you'll click on the big green MyGov button, and it will bring you to this website here. So this is a MyGov website, and this is our BDD4 webpage through MyGov. This is where you will both start to create a collaborator account and to log into your collaborator account once it's been made. So there's a few options to create a collaborator account on this page. You can either click create account here. There's also a create a collaborator account button here. So to do so, we will click the create account. You'll put in the information requested and you'll validate your email. It'll send in the email a verification code. You'll input that in and then the collaborator account will have been made. It's really simple, nothing too complicated. Let me get back to the screen. So on this MyGov BDD4 portal, there is this request button. This is where you will do a variance, open records request, excuse me. And then the permits button is where you will access plan submittals and inspections. So let's go ahead, and we have a test collaborator account for the purpose of this meeting. Let me go back. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. So once you have created your collaborator account and you log in, this is where it'll bring you. This is your MyGov dashboard. And you can see you will have access to the Brazoria Drainage District 4 portal. If you already have a collaborator account because of other municipalities, to get access to the BDD4 portal, you'll click request access and search our name. We should be at the very top actually with Brazoria. And then you'll click on the button and then request access. To the dashboard. So you can either, to get to our portal, you can either click on, give it a second, it's loading. You can either click on this here or this button here. Either way is going to bring you to the same place, which is our portal. So this is specifically your BDD4 MyGov portal. A brief overview, this is where your applications, it'll give you notification of your applications, what their status is, correction items. So before we had what we called comments for plan reviews, but in terms of MyGov, they'll be called correction items now. Same thing, just a different name. Over here, this is the menu for the different options you have. If you don't see it, you'll just click on this toggle button to open it. We go to projects, you'll see this is where you can find all your projects, all your active projects, and so forth. So we have a test project created that we will be using later on in this webinar. So let's start by creating a new project. We're back at our dashboard. So to create a new project, whether it be a plat, plan, study, or variance request, you will click on this Make New Request button. And then there's only one department, which is the engineering department. So go ahead and click that. And then this is where you can see we have the plat submittal, drainage plan, drainage study, and variance request. So I'm gonna do a drainage plan submittal. And this is going to be our new application. It has the same information, it's just in a web form now. The first thing I do want to note is these knowledge items. These are very important that you read over this. Any important information will be here. Yeah, we have our fee schedule as well, and you can download a PDF of that clicking this button. So to start, we have the project title. It will auto-populate this drainage plan submittal text. Please delete that and type in the relevant project title. But for this purpose of this test, I'm going to leave that there. Next, you will put in the location of your project. You can either type the address here, or we do have the option to pick a GIS location. Okay, so you'll zoom in. And actually, if I zoom out, you should see, no, it's not there, sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in and use the BDD4 office as the quote unquote project site. You'll see they have all these parcels, and you'll hover over the parcel, it'll bold it, and then wherever, be as exact as possible whenever you're choosing the location within a parcel. So wherever you click is where the dot on the map is going to go. So you'll click, and then it'll give up this pop-up, and you'll click select location, and then it'll auto-populate the address of that location as well. So the next important thing is this existing projects for this location. If you have an existing project within the MyGov that also utilizes this exact address, the existing project will populate here. So it'll have a 1, and you'll just click on the drop down, and it'll have the project name, the status of the project. But the important thing is it'll have a toggle button that says link. Please go ahead and link any projects that are tied to the location. Next, you'll put a project description. This can be, the work that's related to the project. Is it a gas station? Is it a subdivision? Anything like that. This field is required, so you do have to put something in this field. I'm just going to put gas station. Next is going to be the requirements for the application. Anything with a star means that it is required, and you will not be able to get past this phase of the application until you have filled out the information. So I'm going to go ahead and do so. And specifically, this will be the engineer information. As a collaborator, we will have As the collaborator, we will have, we'll have your information already here. So this is really for the engineer, and then I'll scroll down and you'll have the owner and developer information. Okay, so we've got the engineer information, and then you'll have the owner and developer information. These fields are not required. As you can see, they don't have a star, but as much information as you can fill out, that would be great. And then we'll put in the total acreage and the number of lots. And you do have to have some number in there So I will just put 1 and 1. And then you'll have, is this part of a master drainage plan? You'll click yes or no. And if it is a yes, it will require you to fill out the date. The next thing is the type of development that this project is. Is it residential, commercial? Well, I'll choose commercial. And then this information is for fees. Now, in the past, you would see the fee schedule and just send us either a credit card authorization form or a check. We will be assigning the fees from now on. So we'll use this information to determine your fee. And then later on in the process, I'll show you how we will send you an invoice to pay that fee. So we'll do all other developments. And then the last thing for the application is the geographic location. Again, list major streets, bayous, creeks, anything like that. And I'll put test in here. Yes. So going back right back to the total acreage and lots, this information is utilized to calculate the fee. The system will do a calculation, so it's important that this information is correct and accurate. If there's no lots, or you know that the fee will not require lots, just put 0. But again, you have to have some type of number in there. Okay, now that we're done with that, you will go ahead and click Request Project. And this is the application part. However, we are not done with the formal submittal of a project. The next step will be the upload electronic plans. So obviously this is very different than what we used to do, but it is, as you'll see, it's very convenient and useful. This is where you'll upload your drainage plan, your plat, the of any support documentation for variance requests, and I will show you guys the support documentation later on. So this is a drainage plan that we're doing, so I'm going to be uploading a drainage plan. To upload the drainage plan, you'll click on this green arrow here. And this text right here is just dependent upon the application. If you're doing a plat application, it'll say plat and so forth. So I'm gonna upload the drainage plan. Okay, and it does, the more pages, the longer it is, but so just wait for it to load. It doesn't take too long, it just takes a couple seconds. And you'll see here, you won't be able, this continue button will be black or grayed out until the documents has loaded, and then later on the required fields have been filled out. Yeah, so we received a question about, is it a PDF form? This specific part of the submittal process, it is a PDF. So the drainage plan, plat, study will have to be in a PDF. As you can see, we've uploaded it. You do have the option, in case for whatever reason a certain page in that PDF does not need to be submitted, you'll click on this X button here. So once the relevant pages have been uploaded, you can press continue. But before I press continue, I do want to say something about this complete later button. You have the option to complete the upload electronic plan stage. Let's say you started a application, but you had to step away. You can press complete later. You can press complete later and come back to it. However, if you press complete later, the application itself has not been formally submitted. So to have a complete submittal of a new project, you have to complete this upload electronic plans part. Also, really quickly back to the file upload, there is no size limit. So do not worry about how big the file is. There is no limit. So I'm going to press continue now that we have all the pages that we needed uploaded. And then this is where you will have the support documentation. So this is any documentation that you want us to see or will help the engineer in reviewing the project. These are all the file types that it accepts. If it's anything other than these file types here, you'll need to put it in a zip folder, aka CADs, any type of modeling, anything really that is not the specified file types. Put it in a zip folder, and then it will be able to be uploaded. So I'm going to go ahead and upload a support documentation. And see here, this is a perfect example. This has models in it. So we have created a zip folder, and it will allow it to upload. And this is a really large file too. So again, no limit. You don't have to worry about that. You have 3 chances or 3 opportunities to do support documentation. A single file can be multiple pages. Again, like this has several files in it within the zip. But we only have given y'all 3 uploads to do. So just use that wisely. Also, once you submit this, there is no going back and editing. So be very mindful whenever you're creating this to make sure that you've included all the documentation that you've needed, because once you submit, you can't go back and edit unless we allow you. So I've uploaded that support documentation, and I'm going to press continue. Okay, so the last stage of this upload electronic plans, or step rather, is the stage sheet. So this is going to be very important. Again, you cannot get past this without having staged it, and you won't be able to submit the project until this step is completed. So the 3 fields that need to be completed for each sheet of the document that you're uploading is the sheet ID. Excuse me. The sheet ID, there we go. The sheet title, and scroll down, the drawing date. So for the sheet ID, always do the increment. The sheet ID is going to be the page number. It will be nothing else other than the page number of that sheet. So go ahead and click increment. And of course, you'll start with 1, and then press the increment button. And it'll do DP. DP stands for drainage plan. If you're in a plat submittal, it'll say PL. If you're in a drainage study, it'll say DS. So you'll put the sheet ID, and I'm going to show you all the sheet's title last. You'll also need to put the drawing date. So it'll bring up a calendar, and you'll put the drawing date. I'm going to choose today. And you also have the ability to apply this drawing date to all the sheets by clicking that apply to all button. Otherwise, if it's different drawing dates, we're not really focusing on the drawing date, so to say. So it really doesn't matter to us. But if you do not do the apply all, you will have to go through each sheet and do the different drawing date. So keep that in mind. And then the last thing is the sheet title. Again, we will not be focusing on the sheet title. We won't use that. We won't depend on that for our review purposes. What we are going to be depending on for organization is going to be the sheet ID. So it's very important that page number 1 is DP1, page number 2 is DP2, and so forth. So for sheet title, you can either type in the title of each document, or it does have the option to do this automate tool. And what the automate tool is if you have a standardized title block, if you press this automate button here, see the cover sheet or the sheet title is always going to be in the right-hand corner. This automate tool is a great tool to use. You will click on the button, and you'll draw a square in the area that is going to apply to all the sheets. And make sure you leave enough room for, if the text is a little bit longer on a certain page, just leave enough room in the square for it to capture that text. And once we're good with the positioning of the box, you'll press the check mark. And then click the X next to automate, so that way it's not in that function anymore. And then you'll see it populated cover sheet for the cover sheet. And this is a great example of if you don't have the standardized title block for a certain page, the system saw it was this sheet, it was this area, but of course there is no text, so it left it blank. So you will have to type something in. Then if we scroll down to sheet 3, it did get the proposed drainage plan title and the proposed stormwater title. Again, we're not relying on this sheet title, so you can put whatever you want in here, whatever's most convenient or helpful for you. We're just going to be focusing on the sheet ID. Make sure that while you're doing this, because of course the longer the document is, the more work you'll have to do. So click save, so that way if you for some reason you have to go back to step 2 or step 1, that whenever you go back to step 3, your work is still saved and you don't have to type this information all over again. So just perpetually click save just to make sure that it saves. Okay, so we are then done with the stage sheets once you filled out those 3 fields. And you'll go ahead and click continue. It'll bring you to an overview of the sheets that you've uploaded. You'll see the sheet title for all of them, drawing date. Category will always be the same, drainage plan, plat, study. And once you're good with that, you can go ahead and click submit plans. And now you have successfully made an application request. So step 1 is the application request, which is what we just did. That whole process is called the application request. It is automatically accepted. So then the project will move to step 2 of application. And this is where a staff member, you can see I'm assigned to this step. So I will be reviewing this application, checking the location, address, make sure it's in the right spot. Information fields that the relevant information is in there. And then once I review it and I approve it, which give me one moment while I go on our end to approve this request. Okay, so let me refresh. Okay, so now you can see that the agency, or aka us, BDD4, has approved the application. You can see that the status went from in review to approved. And now you've moved to step 3 of payment due. So this is where we will be assigning the fee to you, and that's where the total acreage and the number of lots information comes into play. So wait one moment while I work on our end to assign a fee to show you what that looks like. Okay, let me refresh this. And I do want to mention before I get into this payment due that you will be receiving email notifications about whenever a step has been resulted, meaning an action has taken place on a step. You won't get email notifications when you have moved to a step, you'll get an email notification when a step has been approved, or you have items that need to be required, or in this case, you have a payment, an invoice that has been issued and a payment is required. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what those email notifications look like. One moment. The email is not, where is it? There we go. I did. Sorry, we're having an email. I'm trying to pull up the email, so just give me one moment. Okay, sorry about that. So let me pull up an example of what it looks like once the application has been approved. So this is what the application has been approved email will look like. It'll say the specific step or the application step has been approved, the project number. So our number system now is the 21111 whatever. It will now be 21 dash and then the number. So that'll be what the new project numbers will look like. And close out of this. You'll click View Project. You'll click View Project, and then it'll bring you to this overview page. And obviously, you'll see that the application has been approved. I'll close out of this. Okay. So now going to payment due, you'll receive an email that looks like this. I can do this one as well. This is the one that we just did. You'll get an email that looks like this. And it'll have the invoice attached as a PDF, and it'll say the amount, and it'll give you the option to pay the invoice. So you'll click Pay Invoice. And it'll bring you to the Payments tab of your project folder. And you'll see that the status of this payment is pending because it hasn't been paid yet. To pay it, you'll click on this Settings button and you'll click Pay. It will then pull up the fee information. Again, it'll have a breakdown of how the fee was calculated. You'll click Proceed to Payment. And this is where you'll put in your credit card information, all that. I'm not going to do that right now, but you'll put in your credit card information. You'll click Make Payment. The payment will be processed, and then it'll do a pop-up, and it'll ask you if you want the receipt to be emailed or printed to you. I'm going to close out of that. So what the receipt email will look like is you'll get an email that says receipt is ready. Again, it'll have the receipt attached. This is if you choose the option to have the receipt emailed to you. And it'll have just brief information of what this receipt entails. So give me one moment while I result this step on my end. Okay, let me refresh now. We also do have the option to do check. So you'll just send in your check like normal to the BDD4 office, and we'll apply the payment. And once it's been applied, we'll email the receipt to the collaborator. If you want the check to be emailed to someone else, maybe someone in your accounting department, just let us know what email you want the receipt to be sent to. But now you can see the payment due now has the status of paid. So the payment is complete, and now you have moved to step 4 and 5. And within the drainage plan, you'll have these 2 steps that will need to be completed before you will move to the board eligibility step. So the first step I want to talk about is the required forms. This is for drainage plans. It'll have required forms and engineer review. For a plat, it will have the staff review and engineer review. If drainage study, it'll have engineer review, and variance requests will have engineer review and staff review as well. But this is what it looks like for drainage plans. All the templates for the different submittals, plat, drainage plan, hectic, they all are very similar. There's only little minor differences depending on the project, but nothing confusing. It will be the same as the drainage plan, how to result those. So I want to go into the required forms. So the required forms will have 2 things. Actually, let me go back really quick. So the required forms that we will require the collaborator or applicant to return to us to be on the board agenda is the acknowledgement form and the maintenance declaration form. Both forms will need to be signed to us. The acknowledgement form can be sent via PDF, but the maintenance declaration form will have to be signed, notarized, and either delivered to us in person to the BDD4 office or mailed to us. But either way, we have to have the original copy of that document. And I'm going to let Adrian speak a little bit more on that before we move forward.
Yeah, so the maintenance declaration is a new document, and it's based off of our TCEQ requirements for our stormwater permit. Our board passed it, and we're in the last board meeting. So every new drainage plan moving forward will have to have this signed document. Essentially, it's a declaration from the owner that they will maintain the detention pond or swell or anything on their property for life. And we actually take that original document and we bring it to the county to get it recorded. So it ends up being recorded through the county document. And that's something new starting with this September 14th agenda and moving forward only for drainage plans.
Yes. Yeah, so this required form step will only be within this drainage plan. The plat, drainage study, and variance request projects will not have this step in there. It's only for drainage plans. So now that you've done payment due and you've moved to step 4 and 5, we already have your drainage plan uploaded. It's ready to be reviewed. So once you've made the payment and you've moved to step 4 and 5, you do not have to do anything. As you can see, the status is in review. It is now in staff's hands to get you the relevant information, comments, or now called correction items to you. So you will be in a waiting period right now. So let me go ahead and show you all what it will look like once you have items that need to be required. Share. Okay, so this is what it will look like once staff has reviewed these 2 things and have issued you correction items that need to be addressed. It will say items required. You will also get an email. You will also get an email that will give you a notification, and that is right here. It'll say items required in the title, and it'll say the drainage plan application for this project has items required on the plan review or engineer review step. You'll click on review notes. and it'll bring you to this right here. This is going to be the EPR. So this in particular is, let me close out of this window. So this is going to be the comments that need to be addressed for your drainage plan, plat, study, variance requests. So let's go back to one moment. Okay, so that email notification will bring you to this page. However, if you just see you have an email and you log into your account and you access the project by going to active and you get to the overview, you also have the ability to access that page that the email took you to by clicking on engineer review or add comment rather. And it'll bring you to this correction items tab. You'll find out once you get to messing around with this MyGov is that there's several ways to get to the same place. So this is going to be where all of your correction items were. So as you could see, I'm going to go back to the project overview. You saw that you had items required. And if you look at these two bubbles, the red bubble is items that are required that have not been addressed. So you can see required forms has 2 items and engineer review has 6 items that need to be addressed. When those items have been corrected, it'll move to the green circle. So you will click, I'm gonna show you all the engineer review first. So you'll click add comment. It will bring you to this correction items. And you'll see for the required forms, you see that you have the acknowledgement form and the maintenance declaration form. You can see it says, please sign and upload the attached form by adding a comment to this correction item. So you can see in this activity part that next to this paper clip is a number 1. That means that there is an item that has been attached to this correction item that you can access. So to see that, you'll click reply, or you can also click on this little inbox icon. It'll both bring you to the same area, which is this right here. And you'll see what the correction item is, and you'll see that the acknowledgement form has been attached. You will download this form and sign it. You'll create a PDF of the signed version, and we will result this step as completed whenever you have commented. Here is the signed form. And then you upload the form here. And it'll create an attachment. So we're going to attach the signed form. And you'll click comment. So when you do that and we see it, the correction item will be changed. The status of the correction item will be changed. So we're going to go ahead and close out of there. And then you have the maintenance declaration, which we just discussed. Again, you see that there's an attachment. That means that there's a document that has been attached to this correction item that you can access. And when you view it, you'll see the text here as well as the attachment. Now, again, like we said, this one, we're not accepting PDF versions or copies of the signed document. So this is more of a, here's the document, here's the access that you have for it, print it out, sign it. And whenever you have either dropped it off at the office or mailed it to the office, please add a comment that says form has been sent, something like that, that lets us know that the form has been sent, it's on the way, or we just dropped it off at the office. You don't have to upload anything like that. And then once we have received the document in hand, that's when we'll change the status of this correction item in particular. So again, just put a comment letting us know that you've sent it. Goes out of that. So that is the required forms step. Now going into the engineer review. So as you can see, these are all the correction items that the engineer has assigned. That the engineer has assigned to this engineer review step. So going to status, again, status is really important because you see that there's a required one, but then there's also status of note. This means that it is not necessarily something that needs to be corrected, but it's more of an FYI, just to let you know kind of deal. And also a tool in MyGov that we will be using is, so these are all the correction items that the engineer has found for this plan. But if you go into this EPR tab, again, EPR means the electronic plan review. That is the review of the actual plat, plan, study. And you'll see that page 1 of cover sheet has 2 specific items that the engineer pointed out on page 1 that needs to be corrected. When you scroll down, page 2 and 3 have the status of partial approval. So partial approval means that the engineer didn't necessarily find anything that needed to be corrected on there. However, partial approval, the status of partial approval allows the applicant, whenever they're resubmitting the project, to re-upload these sheets in case, for whatever reason, something did change on it. And then moving to page 4, you'll see that it has the status of resubmit. That means that it is required that you will have to resubmit this page. So before we did kind of a resubmit the whole project kind of deal, but now with MyGov, we will be only requiring certain sheets to be resubmitted. And again, you do have the option to resubmit other sheets should they have changed as well. But the reason why these comments are specifically assigned to this page is because, and I'll show you in just a moment, that the engineer had pointed out something specific on this page. And so remember that we had 6 comments that needed to be addressed. Well, there's 2 and there's 2. So the other 4 will be under this other corrections. And these other corrections obviously apply to page 1 or 2 because they have the status of resubmit. But these corrections are in this area because the engineer didn't necessarily point out something specific on a certain page of the plan. It might be a little bit confusing, but I'll show you in a moment what I'm referring to. And lastly is the optional support documentation. So that support documentation that we uploaded, the engineer reviewed it and said, okay, I don't really necessarily need this doesn't necessarily need my approval or corrections. So they put the status of partial approval. And again, the status of partial approval for the optional support documentation is if whatever reason you want to replace it because you had some better information that was more relevant, you can resubmit this as well. And I'll show you that later on whenever we go through the resubmittal process. So going back to this sheet 1 and sheet 4, these 2 items and 2 items that were specifically on sheet 1. So you can see comments either by going to this correction items here within the overview tab, going within this EPR, and this is where you can see where certain comments have been applied to a certain page. And there's also this documents tab. So if you go to the documents tab and click on EPR documents, this is where you can see if there are any markups that the engineer has made to this plan. And the markups are what I was just discussing about those 2 comments on the sheet. So let me show you in just a moment while it loads. So page 1 has, and you'll see there's 2 red markers. That means that this was a certain correction item that the engineer placed. So he put a correction item regarding the signature block. And if you click on the red marker, it'll show you the title of the correction item of General 10. And it'll give you the text that he put on it, as well as there's an attachment. And you see the other one is the other correction item. And the sheet 2 and 3 that had the partial approval, of course, did not have anything in it. There was not necessarily on there that needed to be corrected. And I'll show you page 4 just to show you again. There's 2 markers in here. He put, that's 1 correction item, and that's 1 correction item. Again, click it. He also put on here, how does this area drain? He was confused. We'll close out of here. And then again, if there's anything on the optional support documentation that needed to be corrected or the engineer was confused about, you can click on that and see if he marked anything on that. So we're going to go back to the EPR tab. All right, so once you have made all those corrections and then you are ready to formally resubmit your plans, this area right here will appear anywhere. You can go to overview or reviews, it's still going to be available here. And this is where you will re-upload your plans to be reviewed again. And the engineer does want to say something really quick regarding this.
So my applicants are accustomed to seeing a letter, which is a lot of somewhat boilerplate comments that say what our requirements are. It cites the section of our criteria manual where the rule appears. The key difference is you're still going to get those boilerplate remarks. The difference here is I have the ability to put a pin or a marker on the drawing that makes it clear where specifically your project doesn't meet our criteria. So the markers, the benefit really is that you all, the applicants, will have a clearer picture of where specifically the issue is on the drawing relative to that comment. And then we also have the ability to doodle, if you will, on your plan, circle things, mark lines on things, this kind of thing that will also make it easier for me to convey a point relative to the letters that we used to issue.
Yeah. And if you're confused about a specific correction item, you don't know what he's asking, again, you can utilize this little inbox icon, and this is where you will be able to say, I'm confused, I don't know what you mean. And you can comment that, and the engineer will see that, and y'all can have a conversation through MyGov about this specific correction item. That way it's really clear what you're talking about, which one you are confused about, and so forth. And Jared also does have some attachments to his certain items that give examples of what exactly he is referring to, what he wants it to look like. So you have the option to do that as well. And before I go into the resubmit, if you work better by having the comments printed out on a sheet, you do have the option to print out all the comments. Specifically, we're an engineer review, so if you want to print out all the engineer review comments, you'll click on this printer icon. It will download the sheet at the very bottom over here. Okay, if you click it, here is the project, the address, all that, and then all the correction items. It even has the status of this correction item as well. Yep. Okay. All right, so now we're ready to resubmit our plans now that we've addressed all the comments. So you'll go to this resubmit plan square and click upload. It'll again bring you to this upload electronic plans page. And you see the required sheets, which are the sheets that you have to resubmit, are sheet 1 of cover sheet and sheet 2 of proposed stormwater pollution plan 4. And then you see that again, like the sheet 2 and 3 had the status of partial approval. And this just offers more clarification that these are optional sheets that you're not required to resubmit, but you do have the option to resubmit should they have changed. And then the third is new sheet. So if you had to create another sheet that is relevant to this drainage plan, you can also upload new sheets to this as well. So we're going to click the green upload button, and we are going to upload our resubmittal. So in this case, I just did a batch upload. If you want to upload sheet by sheet, you can do that as well. You can upload as many times. So I did sheet by sheet, and I did a batch upload, sorry. I'll wait for it to load. Okay, so now I've uploaded all the forms, and let's say you do the batch upload and you say, oh, I don't need, page 2 didn't change, I don't need to upload that. You'll just click on the red X and say, yep, I want to remove that. And we'll say, oh, you know what? There were some changes that had to be made on page 3. So I do want to upload page 3. So now that you have all the sheets that you want to upload it here, you will click continue. And this is the optional support documentation. So like I said, the support documentation number 1 that you uploaded had the status of partial approval. So you do have the option to replace the document if something changed on it, and you do have the option to add another support documentation if you think that's necessary. Once you do that, you say, oh no, my support documentation is fine. I don't need to re-upload it or add anything else. So click continue. And then again, we're at the last step of stage sheets. So you'll have to stage the sheets that you've uploaded. In this instance, we're not going to use increment because, as you can see, it is the pages. Oh, I guess it is actually in this example. It is. No, disregard that. Excuse me. So we're not going to use increment because we decided that page 2 of the initial resubmittal we're not uploading. So I'll make it more clear in a moment. So this is the cover sheet that needs to be required. So you can put a number 1, and it will do that. Let's see. Okay, and then we're going to put the sheet title. In this case, we'll just type it. Cover sheet. And then the drawing date. We'll put the drawing date as today. And you can see that cover sheet in page 1 have been uploaded. So that's why the sheet ID is very important that you are consistent. So the first time, I do want to point out that the first time we did the initial upload, when we did increment, it had a DP in front of it. If you're in a plat, it'll have PL. But whenever you're resubmitting, if that DP or PL DS isn't required, you can just put the number, and it will recognize that as page 1. So now moving to this page. So this one was page 3, and you remember the page 3 was optional. So we have to assign this. This was page 3. Sheet title. It doesn't really matter for our site, so you can put that. It doesn't matter. And then we'll put the drawing date as today. So it sees it registered. Page 3 of optional has been added. And lastly, page 4. So this is 4. And you can put whatever you want in the sheet title and the drawing date. And then now it has recognized that page 4 has been added. Go ahead and save your work. Okay, and then you can also see here that 3 have been completed and there's 0 that's not completed. So you have all the sheets that needed to be uploaded are uploaded. Go ahead and click continue now. It'll bring you to the overview page again. When everything's good, looks good, you'll click resubmit plans. Okay. So now you have resubmitted your plans. So now the engineer review status is back to in review. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to say that you have uploaded all the necessary forms. You go in and you have the comment that says, okay, I've uploaded my form. Here's my form. And you add the comment here that says, I have sent you the maintenance declaration and a staff member of the office has received the form. Give me one moment while I go on our end to approve this step. All right, I'm going to go back to the overview and refresh. And now you can see the required form step has been approved. And in some cases, you may get the acknowledgement form first to me, but you're waiting on the owner to sign the maintenance declaration form. In that instance, it'll say corrected here, but items required is still here. So in that case, this would not be approved. It will still say items required because there's still one item in here that has not been submitted. But you can see the status is corrected and corrected. So the required form step is good. And now all you're doing is waiting on the engineer review step. So I'm going to go ahead and go on our end to approve the engineer review. Got that, so I'm going to refresh. And you'll see. That's it. One moment. Okay, sorry about that. Let me refresh again. Okay, so now you'll see the engineer review step has been approved. Engineer review. One moment. Let's refresh this. Okay, yeah, you'll see that it's been approved. So I want to point out that before, the status of each sheet was, resubmit, partial approval, resubmit. So now that they all say approved. So the sheet status will only say approved when all sheets have been approved and the document or the project is ready to be presented to the board. I'm going to go back to the project overview tab. And you'll see that step 4 and 5 have been completed. So now you are on step 6 of board eligible. And it is in review, which means that you are waiting on staff to make an action on this step. And I'm going to show you really quick what the emails will look like whenever a step has been approved or denied. So you'll see here, this has the plan review has been approved. So that's what the email will look like. You can click review notes. I do want to stress that the most important and clear way to know the status of your project is by going to this overview tab, and it'll show you where you are in the process, what the status of this step is at. And I want to note that these 2 steps must be completed before the step 6 of board eligible is activated or you're on the step now. So let's say engineer review step has been approved and you have submitted your acknowledgement form to me, but the only thing we're waiting on is maintenance declaration. Well, if we don't have the maintenance declaration, then you will not be able to be on the board agenda. So the required forms of acknowledgement form, maintenance declaration, as well as all correction items addressed, all of these items need to be completed and corrected by the agenda deadline. So if engineer review says it's approved, but we're still waiting on the maintenance declaration, if you don't get us that maintenance declaration by the submittal deadline, then you will not be able to be on the next available agenda. So I do want to stress that, make sure that everyone is aware of that. Okay. So required forms have been submitted and the engineer has reviewed your project and said, okay, everything has been addressed. They're now ready to be on the board meeting. I'm going to go in on our end for one moment and show you what it will look like. I'm going to refresh it now. And you see the step 6 of board eligible has the status of approved. And you'll get an email that says board eligible approved. You'll click on the view project. And it'll bring you to, again, this project overview. And now say you see this, but maybe you're confused. Okay, I'm eligible to be on the board agenda, but how do I know which agenda I'm on? Well, it's really important that if it brings you to this overview step, that go ahead and actually click on the step, and you'll see if there's any notes that a staff member has attached to this specific step. And sure enough, you will see we'll always have a comment that is going to tell you which meeting agenda you're on. So in this case, you have the meeting date. It's considered a correction item, but you'll see here that the status is a note. So there is nothing that needs to be corrected. It's just an FYI. And you see that it says the staff has reviewed it and you will now be on the September 14th agenda. So if you see there's 3 little dots here, meaning the whole comment is not showing. So you can either hover over it and it'll give you a pop-up and you can read the whole thing there, or you can click again on this inbox icon and you will be able to see the whole comment there as well. And yep, that's how you will view that. I'm going to go back to the overview page. This overview page is very helpful. Again, it's a great place to start whenever you're trying to check on the status of your project. But so your agenda item has been approved for board eligibility, and you'll be on the September 14th agenda. So now you are just waiting on the board decision. So the board decision will be, you'll see the result of this board decision, the day of the board meeting. So there's no action required. It is in review. So we're waiting on the Board of Commissioners to make their decision. And I will now go on our end to show you what it looks like, to show you an example of what it'll look like if your project has been tabled.
And just real quick, so it doesn't happen a lot, but the commissioners can decide to table your project to discuss at the next available board meeting. Typically that happens whenever there's not a representative of the project there at the meeting to answer any questions that our commissioners may have. And essentially, yeah, you'll get notification that your project was tabled and it will be on the next month's agenda. No, it's paused.
One moment, I had to refresh the page. Okay, there we go. So you'll see that the board decision has been made. You'll get an email notification. So if you want to be on top of that, it'll say board decision. In this case, it'll be this email that says board decision held. And it's been held, and maybe you're a bit confused as to why. Well, you'll click on view project. It will open your project folder and it'll bring you to the overview page, and you'll see the same thing. It'll say hold. And it will always have a comment in here as well, just like the board eligibility, describing why it's been tabled or giving you a bit more information on the action that has been decided on the step. In this case, these will be all the comments that you'll see. So if it's been tabled, you'll see this comment of tabled. Your agenda item has been tabled. Your item will be placed on the next agenda to be reviewed again. If it's been denied, and I'll show you what it'll look like if it's been denied, you'll have this denied comment. It'll say it's been denied. If there's a certain reason, we'll also add in the text what the reason was. And then if it's been approved, you'll have this approval message, and I'll show you what it'll look like when it's been approved as well. So that's what it looks like when it's been tabled, when the status will be show as held. And give me a moment while I result it to show you what it looks like whenever it's been denied. Okay, let me refresh. And I do want to know if you're ever, refreshing, don't refresh through the browser, refresh through the application, which is this refresh button here. All right, we'll scroll down. And this is what it looks like when it's been denied. So you see that there is the status of denied, and your project has been archived, or you'll see that it's grayed out. But you will still be able to see denied by clicking on the, I think, oh yeah, you won't be able to click on the step because it's been archived and it's been grayed out, but you'll click on review. And this is where you can also see any comments. So we'll scroll down all the way to board decision. And this is again where we were showing a little earlier, is you'll have the message of denied. And again, the reasoning why it's been denied. And if you're confused, you can reply to that as well. And I do want to mention that whenever a project, whether it's a plat, plan, variance request, whenever it's been denied, like I said, the project has been archived. So there's no other action that can be done on this project. So if you want to resubmit the variance request or resubmit the plan to try to get it approved again, you'll have to create a new application and resubmit the plan over again. So what we did in the very beginning, you'll have to do it over again. So essentially, this folder of project 21-0001 will be inactive, and you'll have to create an entirely new project. Okay, and then give me a moment while I show you what it looks like whenever it's been approved. Give me a few more moments. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and refresh. All right, so you can see that the board decision has been approved. So the decision status will get an email that will look like this. Board decision approved. Again, you'll click on view project, and it'll bring you to the project overview again. And you'll scroll down, and it says approved. Now you know that it's been approved, but now you're wondering, okay, well, how do I get the approved set of plans with the signature and stamp? Well, like I said earlier, always click within the step to see any comments. And again, board eligible and board decision will always have the comments attached. And you'll have this comment here that says approved. So your agenda item has been approved. Attached is the final approved and stamped plans. And you'll see that next to the paperclip, which means that there is an attachment, there is a number 1. So you'll click on the icon, the inbox icon again, and you'll see that the approved plans have been attached. They've got the stamp on it. And if for whatever reason you need to come back and maybe you forgot that the approved plans is specifically within the board decision step, we'll also attach the approved plans. If you go to documents and you go to attached documents, we'll be uploading the approved plans here as well for ease of access. And I also want to point out that that comment of approved plans attached as your approved plans is the only way that you'll receive your approved plans, also by going through this attached documents. This square right here that says electronic plan review has been completed, view plans, that's going to bring you to this documents, and then give it one moment while it loads. One moment. Okay, so when you click view plans, it's going to bring you to this page right here. And this is, again, it's documents and EPR documents. It's the same place. It's going to bring you to this, and it'll all have the status of approved, but this is regarding the engineer review. This does not mean that these are the plans with the signature and the approved stamp. The signature, the signed and approved plans will only be within this attached document, and it'll be clearly titled approved final plan, stamped plan, ECDIC. It'll only be here, or again within this board decision step with the comment and the plans attached right here. And now you have gone through the whole process of a drainage plan submittal. We'll go back to the overview. So only within the drainage plan project folder will you also have these steps down here. This is for the contractors whenever, so a drainage plan has a 365-day expiration date. So you have 365 days from the date of approval to begin construction. So if 48 hours before construction, your contractor will have to contact the district's inspector to schedule a pre-construction meeting. The inspector will give them the information about creating a collaborator portal and will grant them access to this specific project folder. And this is where they'll be able to see that their pre-construction meeting has been requested, and they have a time that the pre-construction meeting is. And it's also where they will be able to request any of the following inspections. Okay, and that is the drainage plan. Like I said earlier, the drainage plan template, the steps that are within the process for getting a drainage plan approved vary, but are similar to the plat and the study and the variance request. I do want to show you all what the variance request looks like, because obviously it is different than what we normally do, which is just filling out a form and sending us a PDF. It's going to be the same information that we're requiring, but we are going to be doing that through MyGov as well. So to make a new variance request, let's go back to the dashboard really quickly. There we go. Okay, so we're back on our dashboard. And again, this dashboard is going to give you what correction items are needing. So you can see are needed. Scroll down and you have all these things to notify you. But I would really be checking your email and also logging in periodically, going within the project by going through this projects. You can either click all or active. When a project has been denied, it will no longer be in the active, but it'll be within this archived. But you'll click on active, and then you'll click on the project, and you can go back to that overview page to see where your project's at. But I'd say you log back in and you're needing a variance request. Well, again, you'll go through the make new request. And I'm not going to go through the whole variance request because the process is very similar to a drainage plan. Obviously, you're not submitting a plan, so you won't have to do that staging or anything like that. But you'll click on engineering department and you'll click on variance request. Again, these are the knowledge items that we want you to be aware of. You'll put the title of the project. You'll put the address. So the address will be the location of the project that you're requesting a variance for. again, if we do the location and we're going to say, let's say the project that we just did, which was at the location of the BDD4 office location. We're going to scroll in. Let's say this variance request is for the drainage plan that we just did, and it's at the same exact location. Well, you'll choose the same exact location. Click. And you'll press select location. And it recognizes that this address is, again, the same as that drainage plan that we just completed. And you see that it has the drainage plan, it has the number, and you'll press this link. So now it'll link this variance request to that drainage plan. You'll put a project description. You put variance request related to so-and-so project, whatever you want to put in here for this project description. You'll put the applicant name, phone number, and the related project number. So let's say that you do have a pre-existing project that's gone through our MyGov BDD4 approval process. You need to put in the related project name and the number just for reference. You'll put the geographic location of where this variance is being requested. I also want to point out that, again, a star means that it's required. So let's say this variance request does not have a project yet. You haven't submitted your project yet through to us. Then you don't have to put anything within this these fields. But again, very similar to our paper form, you'll put the ruler requirement that you're wanting to deviate from, the hardship created, and the deviation that you are requesting. Instead of a signature, you'll click yes that you are an authorized agent, and you'll click request project. So after you click request project, it'll give you the option to upload any support documentation like it did within the drainage plan, and you'll upload any support documentation that you want to be used whenever this variance request is presented to the Board of Commissioners. You can put that there as well. And then once you upload support documentation, you'll click on the submit project, and then your variance request will have been submitted. And the district's engineer is going to say something right now.
So I know we've been on this webinar for a little more than an hour, and I'm sure for some of you this might seem a little overwhelming. I want to point out, and Daniela is going to go to the district website, bdd4.org, bdd4.org. And then if you click that right there in that pink box, click here for more information. The staff has done an excellent job of compartmentalizing everything we just covered into little micro tasks. So if you need to know how to create an account, there's a video. If you need to know how to submit a variance request, there's a video. If you need to know how to resubmit, there's a video. This is all broken up into nice little kind of task or specific activity kind of videos that you can get everything you need. There's also the more narrative documents that they're at the bottom. I think you're going to find that this is way more intuitive than the likes of a Harris County or City of Houston system. There may be some things that are kind of unique with our system that take a little getting used to, but it's generally very user-friendly. We're happy to answer questions, but I encourage you to start here to learn the process and then follow up with us if you have a specific issue or question. But I think at the end of the day, you're going to realize, especially on the engineering review side of things, this tool is going to allow me to be much more clear with you as the applicant with regard to specific deficiencies. Gives me the option to attach little snippets and pictures of details and things like that. Where I think there'll be a little less back and forth. It's going to be very clear what we're looking for in the way of corrections and comments and this sort of thing. So we're here to help, but we encourage you to get out in front of this by looking through these little tutorial videos that we put together. because I think everything you need is here, and it's really not nearly as complicated as you might think.
And so just to kind of reiterate, if you have a current project going on right now, any resubmittals will be done through the current way up until the deadline for the September agenda, which is this or next Friday, the September 3rd at noon. So anything that you're wanting on this agenda, the September 14th agenda, needs to come through the normal channels, through our share file, through the website, starting at 12:01 September 3rd. Even if it's a resubmittal to a current project, you'll have to enter that in and go it through MyGov. What we'll do is if it's a resubmittal to a current project, we're not going to charge you again, but whenever it gets to the pay side of it, we'll just result that out as a no fee since you've already paid it, and everything's going to be going through there. It may end up being a little clunky at first, just working through two systems, but the point was to just kind of rip the Band-Aid off and start moving forward with MyGov. Like we talked about, the website has a lot of really good information to get started. You guys can go ahead and start creating those collaborator accounts. We encourage you to, and reach out to us with any questions. We can walk you through anything. Daniela is going to be our kind of point person on this. So any questions, everybody probably has her email, but if not, it's dgarza@bdd4.org. We're also going to host this full webinar to the website as a downloadable video file. So hopefully we can get all these questions answered. Shoot us emails, give us a call. We're available to help any way we can.
Yeah, no, I think Adrian and Jared have covered it all. Again, I'm more than happy to help you, but like Jared and Adrian said, if you utilize these resources before you call, I think a lot of your questions will have been answered either by you going to these videos and viewing them, or backtracking to this webinar video that we'll post and reviewing that as well. But again, I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have and to walk you through a certain thing should you need that.
So we had a question relative to older projects and whether or not those will be accessible through the MyGov system. I mean, in a perfect world, the district would love for all that information to be in the MyGov system, but in the short term, the plan is that only the new stuff going forward will be in there, and all the old stuff will be available on I guess, a request basis. But assuming we get the time at some point, we may try and roll some of that older archived information into the system at some point in the future.
And I know that I see that there's some questions about what happens if you need to resubmit a revision from a previously approved plan. I would try to think of it. Yeah, I would try to think of it as once you've received approval, approval is approval. And if it needs to be resubmitted, you need to make, or not resubmitted, but it needs to be revised and you need approval again. In any case where you need it to be reapproved, think of it as, okay, it's going to be a new project completely. Once it's gone through, I'm going to pull it up really quickly so I can give you all a visual. So once it has been through this whole process and board decision has been made, whether it's been approved or denied, if you need to resubmit for whatever reason, it's going to be a new project, a new application, a new fee, like it always has been done. But again, if you're confused and you're not sure how to go about it, please feel free to call me, and I'd be more than happy to explain it or to clarify whatever questions you have.
All right, guys, it's going to end it for the webinar today. We really appreciate y'all coming in this morning. We're going to work through this new process, and again, ask us any questions if you need it, and we'll try and make this as painless as possible. Thanks.
Thank you so much.